High above the still waters of the swamp, the bird carved out spirals in the purple sky, sharp eyes constantly on the lookout for lunch. Warm air rising from the water caught under her steel blue wings, lifting her higher and higher towards the bloated orange sun. Suddenly, down in the swamp below, something caught her eye. A tiny flicker of motion on the mirror-smooth surface. Silently, and with only hunger in her mind, she pulled in her wings and dropped like a stone. At the last moment, honed by years of instinct and experience, she stretched out her wings to slow her fall. Just meters from the water, she opened her beak, ready to gulp down the fish that she could see. And then a glossy tentacle flicked out of the water, wrapped itself around her neck and dragged her under. The heavy silence of the swamp was broken momentarily by the thrashing of wings and a frantic splashing as she vanished. It was over in less than a second. And then there was just the sun, beating down, and the wetness, and the silence. As the Doctor stepped from the TARDIS, the sole of his foot skidded on a moss-covered root beneath him, and it was only by grabbing onto the doorframe that he managed to stop himself from ending up on the muddy ground. The air hit him like a huge damp blanket. He stood there, one foot still inside the TARDIS, the other hovering a cautious 6 inches from the ground. He said, looking out over the oily water that stretched away from the steeply sloping bank where the TARDIS had plonked itself. At the other side, shaggy trees lowered their branches almost to the water, like a floppy fringe. And through the canopy of leaves above him, an orange-red sun blistered the purplish sky. He ventured his foot out onto the mossy tree root. Cautiously, he tested it with his weight, and it held. The slipperiness was more of a problem. He had to hang onto the TARDIS's doorframe as he shifted his weight onto his outstretched foot. Carefully, he brought the other foot out and found a safe-ish place for it. Finally, he leaned onto it. There! He beamed at his own cleverness. Wasn't so difficult, was... The Doctor began to flail his hands around as his left foot started to slip and slide, and as his other foot decided to join in the fun, he instinctively grabbed for the open doorway to the TARDIS, which was a big mistake. With a creak and groan of roots and a deep squelch of mud, the TARDIS began to slide down the bank towards the water, and the Doctor again began to lose his balance. "Wellingtons!" was the only thing he managed to cry out to Martha as he landed flat on his back in a spray of muddy water. He lifted himself up onto his elbows just in time to see his beloved TARDIS pause at the edge of the swamp before it tipped, almost as if it were waving him goodbye. There was an almighty splash, a brief gush of bubbles, and a massive wave that spread out across the swamp. And then the TARDIS was gone. "Wellingtons," he repeated in a disbelieving whisper. "Don't forget your Wellingtons, Martha."